Right now, it's time to head down to the feature match area and get underway with our next round of Standard here at GP Copenhagen. What's up, nerds? Welcome along to coverage of round number 13 here at GP Copenhagen. A special one lined up for you here. Max Pritsch on New Perspectives, still live for top 8 at 9-2-1. Laurie Tormstrom are taking a more traditional approach to, well, a more orthodox one at least when it comes to standard decks. At the moment, playing red-black chain whirler, but Pritsch is still in it to win it, Simon. X2-1 still live for top 8 in this smaller GP.
Yeah, I actually expect all players with an X2-1 record to make it, unless, of course, there are too many draws in the final rounds. But so far, not too many draws in this tournament overall. Even the control players are playing at a brisk pace, it seems.
Yeah, we've seen players really not looking to get themselves into that draw bracket, and as a result, face off against other decks that are likely to draw all day, every day. And as a result here, Max Pritsch has been in that draw bracket and maybe facing off against some of those control decks. This is, this is just a straight-up combo deck. There's no other way to describe it. This deck has a combo finish. It's more or less the only way it can win the game. And to do so, it needs to get to 6 mana to cast New Perspectives.
Exactly. New Perspective, 6 mana enchantment. And from then on, all these cycling cards don't cost Max any more mana to cycle.
It's a bit of a weird one, to be sure. Bit of a bulk rareski, I would say. But all the same, New Perspectives does enable this ridiculous combo. There are other cards, of course, more or less all of them coming from the Amonkhet block. We've got things like Wander in Death, Shadow with the Grave is a critical part of this combo as well here. But effectively, the idea is to have obviously 7 cards in hand when you cast your New Perspectives, cycle through your entire list using Vizier of Tumbling Sands and Shefet Monitor to gain even more mana as you do so. And then once you've got a critical amount of mana, you can use Wander in Death to win the game essentially on the spot. So
yep.
it does essentially just combo off and can win games out of nowhere. But early pressure like that which is being put on by Tornstrom's deck can kind of tear the plan to pieces a little bit.
What actually happens is you... I think the most crucial card is the Shadow of the Grave, because that allows you to mid-combo to just return all the cards you cycled, and after you've resolved that card, you're not losing anymore.
The actual real-life win condition of this deck is Faith of the Devoted, another weird late draft pick that you may not be familiar with, which has a real payoff for cycling cards. It means that you can pay mana whenever you cycle a card to drain your opponent essentially for 2, and as you can see on your screen there, you only need effectively 10 mana if your opponent is still at 20, which they often will be, which is more than possible with Vizier of Tumbling Sands.
So you only need 13 mana and you need to cycle 10 more cards.
Easy.
To win the game with.
Easy.
But actually what you see there is Gift of Paradise. That's a great way for Max to generate extra mana. The question is what he can do this turn, because he's under a lot of pressure.
Tapping the Gift of Paradise there to cast what looks like is that an Archfiend of Ifnir?
No, I think this is Razakat's right.
Oh, it is too. You're right.
Searching.
So this is a Demonic Tutor type effect here.
Demonic Tutor with cycling attached, exactly.
It costs 5, so Pritsch
actually
what he needs.
A double black card off of this mana base. Quite impressive.
Easy. This is playing the full 4 colors. It's base band, splash double black.
Max is at 16 because he gained life from a Gift of Paradise. I was wondering if our life totals are correct, because he's looking to be in pretty good shape going into the next turn.
If he has a New Perspectives, I think he wins on the spot. And given that he just resolves a Razakat's right, I think there's a very good chance, Simon, that he has the card that he needs.
Well, he might have picked something else.
He might have.
You never know.
Might have gone and got an island. Who knows? But we could see the full combo off from Max Pritsch right now. 9-2-1 is no joke. This is not a deck that has benefited all that much from recent sets. You can see Hinterland Harbor juicing up that mana base a little bit. Carnage Tyrant in the board. Scarab God as well. But apart from that, even the Scarab God comes out of the Amonkhet block. This deck is a real blast from the past.
It is, and it has to do with how the metagame is evolving. I think that you can actually raise the Chain Roller decks. You're another one of these decks that is immune to Chain Roller. Okay, you take one, but that's a lot better than losing half of your board. And even against control, I think you have tools to win that matchup, even though it's not great in game 1.
6 mana, and the writing is on the wall here as we see new perspectives come down. As long as you have 7 or more cards in hand, cycling is free. Now, Pritsch doesn't have 7 or more cards in hand, but he's about to draw 3 cards, and that should get him over the line here. So we could see the full combo finish here if Laurie Tornstrom's going to let him do it. There is, of course, a non-zero percentage chance that Max Pritsch does whiff here, but it's pretty unlikely.
It's very unlikely, and you will actually see Max sequence his cards in a way that he maximizes his deck thinning. So, for example, here searching for a land first, and then the second thing that he will try to do is to just generate a lot of mana.
So draws a card after having cycled. That's the correct way to resolve that one there. Another Chefette Monitor as we see Pritsch continue to churn through this combo finish here. And this may take a little bit of a while here, and especially if Tornstrom's going to make him play it out. Not much of a reason for Tornstrom not to do it. And Simon, I can already see those Chefette Monitors have been set aside in a sort of little separate pile there.
Exactly. Max is doing that to show which cards have entered the graveyard this turn, because that is going to be relevant for the Shadow of the Grave. So the top 3 cards he's not going to get back, the other ones he will be, and if he finds the Shadow in time, I think he's basically guaranteed to win from here on.
So Vizier of Tumbling Sands, a really important piece of this puzzle, because what it does is untap, well, any permanent, but it's going to untap that forest with the Gift of Paradise on it, and that means that it effectively nets Pritsch 2 mana every time he cycles that card for free. For free, don't forget that. So Pritsch now is looking to have to spend some mana here. Oh dear. That's not what you want to be doing. Is this a Beneath the Sands? No, oh, it is just the Faith of the Devoted, so he's going to go straight for it here. And that's showing Tornstrom the win condition of this deck. And so now all Pritsch needs to do is cycle through... hello? Excuse me? He's passed the turn. Did he have no more cyclers?
No cyclers and no Shadow of the Grave, it appears.
Oh, dear. That's a terrible set of circumstances here for Pritsch, who... I mean, we said there was a percentage chance. We're going to see Haze of Pollen here give him another bite at this particular cherry. But that's rough stuff, because those cyclers, they're gone for good as well. They don't come back from the Shadow of the Grave next turn.
Actually, interesting to cast the Haze of Pollen instead of just cycling it and hoping to find one of your key cards. Because in the end, Haze of Pollen also gives you that one additional draw step, just in another way.
So it effectively amounts to the same thing here.
Well, you do get more mana now. The question is if you really need mana. Maybe to cast another New Perspectives.
But the thing is, if you're... Okay, to draw an extra 3 cards. The thing here is that Pritsch, in having... So he had more cyclers in hand. He definitely had more cyclers. I don't understand that play. I mean, he's the one who was 9-2-1. I don't understand. But the thing is, when you cycle that Shadow of the Grave and you get back those Vizier of Tumbling Sands, they then represent 2 more mana each time. So given the fact that he's got 2 of them...
It's entirely possible that his hand was actually stacked. It was just not sure that he would win this turn.
Okay.
So instead he said, I have Haze of Pollen anyway. Let me just pass the turn and win safely the turn after.
Well, here's another New Perspective. That's going to put him up to about 9 cards in hand, and you would think that this would be enough to get him over the line here. Max Pritsch perhaps toying with his food a little bit. Maybe just wanted to show off the fact that he's playing Fog in Constructed. In any case, Pritsch now. Certainly a weird one. And we don't often see combo decks in Standard, Simon. This one is going to turn a few heads for sure.
Yeah, and I hope we will get a look at his hand soon there, because it's really important to see whether he can find that Shadow of the Grave. I think without it, it's really difficult to win. Ah, there we go.
So Shadow of the Grave gets back all these cyclers, so effectively just drawn, 6 more cards with those cyclers. And that'll draw him into more copies of Shadow of the Grave, you would think, because he now has about 1,400 cards in hand. So he can continue to cycle these cards away.
So now generating mana is the key for Max.
And the Vizier of Tumbling Sands, 2 of already in the bin, makes it a little bit difficult. He needs to find an extra copy of that in addition to the another Shadow of the Grave. Here's a Shifet Monitor. That gets him a mana.
That's a good start.
But at the moment, I think he's completely tapped out. So he does need to find another Vizier of Tumbling Sands. Really awkward stuff last turn, cycling away 2 of them and then not finding that Shadow of the Grave to untap more lands after regrowing them here. And Pritsch doesn't have too many cards left in his deck. You'd think he'd be able to more or less draw every card in his deck. Most of his lands have cycling as well, it's worth pointing out.
Yeah, and it would be quite the story if he manages to lose from this kind of position. Having New Perspectives in play for 2 turns, cycling through almost your whole deck.
Countervailing Winds even providing some interaction on the stack here. It's a nice one in any cycling deck. Shifet Monitor, he doesn't have any more basics to search. So there's the Vizier of Tumbling Sands. That's step 1.
That's huge.
Okay. And he's going to need another one in addition to all of those copies of Shadow of the Grave. But at this point, he's got so many cyclers in hand, he should be able to draw his entire deck.
Yeah, now additional Shadows of the Grave are just insanely good.
Yeah.
I think this is spelling the end. And something that Max will be able to do here, and which we might see, is he can generate the 10 mana he needs to win the game. He used the die earlier to represent the mana.
So we're going to have the same situation here as well.
And then what you can do is you can put all your cycling triggers on the stack.
And respond to them.
And just activate the Faith of the Devoted and then put more cycling triggers on the stack and so on, so you don't deck yourself while winning.
This is the question. If you've got less than 10 cards or fewer than 10 cards in your library, how do you win through without decking? And here is another really important piece of technology. The fact that there is Wander in Death to return those Viziers of Tumbling Sands is going to more or less take him to 100% here. Because each of these now generates a ton of mana. He's up to 5 already. Wander in Death, a surprisingly critical card in this list.
Yeah, and now I think he has it, because 4 Viziers, that's 8 more mana. He even has 2 more untapped there, so he can easily go up to 10, and just has to demonstrate that he knows how to execute the kill, which I'm sure he knows how to do.
So we're going to see Faith of the Devoted activated here, and each of these Vizier of Tumbling Sands generates 2 mana when it comes into play, so all of them are free activations of the Faith of the Devoted, and then of course still enough mana in pool to drain Tornstrom out from 20. And Max Pritsch can do this at instant speed, and so even if he has fewer than 10 cards in library, he is still going to be able to win the game with those cycling triggers on the stack, and that should be that. Yes, indeed, Laurie Tornstrom, seeing that it's all over Red Rover, and he's going to pack up his cards. And so Max Pritsch, the Valiant Warrior, after a bit of a stumble and a fumble the turn that he played the New Perspectives, rallied magnificently and found what he needed for the next turn.
Well, he was. It looked like he was never in danger to lose. There could have been some awkward sequence of draws, but I think he gave himself the best kind of out by fogging for the turn with Haze of Pollen, and then casting another New Perspectives for an additional 3 cards.
So, Simon, you were talking earlier about how the fact that this deck is very metagame dependent, and it is a deck that will shine against a certain field. It's trying to resolve a 6-drop sorcery speed card that in principle win the game on the spot. Mm-hmm. That's not something you can do in every standard format. Right now, it's obviously at least viable if we've got a player at 9, 2, and 1.
Yeah, maybe surprisingly a little bit. It doesn't have good ways to force through the New Perspectives, but you can basically find it, and with great consistency. And a lot of decks in the format cannot really interact with the 6-mana enchantment. Enchantment's probably the toughest permanent to get rid of in Standard right now. Much more difficult than Artifacts, for sure.
Let's have a look at the sideboards now and see what Pritsch and Tornstrom are going to be doing in game number 2 and maybe even game number 3 if Pritsch can't pull it together. You've got the list in front of you, Simon. Let's kick things off with Laurie Tornstrom.
Yes. Not much going on here for this particular matchup.
He doesn't have a board that's stacked ready to tussle with New Perspectives.
No, apparently not. I don't know why, but we see the classical package of 2 Duress, 2 Doomfall. There might be an extra Chandra coming in. I don't know how good Angrath is going to be in this kind of matchup without creatures to take control of. So ultimately, we're just going to see the regular red-black chain roller game with maybe the occasional hand disruption spell thrown in.
On the other side of the table, Max Pritsch has some interesting options because he's not all in on that combo post-board.
No, he actually has a lot of tools against control with Carnage Tyrant and Drake Havens. But against aggro, against the chain roller lists, I expect the Archfiend of Ivnir to make an appearance.
Yeah, this card is fantastic against any deck looking to go wide, any creature-based strategy. It can really punish opponents who are looking to contest the board, and might come as a bit of a surprise to anyone who's playing against it post-board in the fact that they will take out all this removal, all of this otherwise dead removal, and then they can just get him with a big demon.
Yeah, they might still have Chandra, of course, but they will mostly take out the burn spells. Now, if Laurie Turnstrom knows exactly what's going on with the New Perspectives deck and he expects the Archfiend of Ivnir, maybe he even keeps an Unlicensed Disintegration, but you would have to be very well informed about what's going on there to keep an otherwise dead card.
Pretty cool, I have to say. Pretty cool to have a combo deck. I'm not a huge fan of combo decks generally. Like, they're not the sort of deck that I enjoy playing with or against. But I think it's a good sign that we have at least a semi-viable, tier 2 deck that is that's making a late run at a GP. Let's make no mistake about this. Max Pritsch is still very much live at top 8 at X2-1, and if he can string together some more wins, we might see him in the top 8 of this GP.
I do think he needs to win out. So this is round 13. Winning this match, 2 more, and we might have New Perspectives in the top 8.
Well, we will see as these players consult their opening grips here. We're not spending too much time talking about Laurie Tornstrom's deck. If you haven't seen what Red Black Chain Whirler is capable of, well, we did see, 6 Chain Whirler decks, 7 Chain Whirler decks total.
6 in Birmingham, 7 at the Pro Tour.
So the deck is a known quantity, so you'll forgive us for spending a little more time focusing on what Pritch is up to here as Scrap Heap Scrounger comes across for 3. Tornstrom following that up as well with a P and a La, which I certainly like a lot more than Goblin Chain Whirler in this matchup. See what Pritch's next move is. For 3 mana, we're going to see a Gift of Paradise. Nice way to buffer the life total and, of course, enabling those later plays with Vizier of Tumbling Sands. Yeah,
perfect turn 3 play. In fact, also enabling some of his double black sideboard cards.
Yeah, we saw previous no swamps, no black sources in play. Gift of Paradise just snapping off the easy Razagets right in game number 1 there.
Impressive curve by Laurie. Turn 2, 3 power. Turn 3, 3 power. Turn 4, Chandra. Take 2. Pritch is not dead next turn, but he needs to do something fast.
Yeah, he's close to it here because certainly under a lot of pressure. We may see Haze of Pollen start to get snapped off here.
Glorybringer as well.
Oh, wow. So Tornstrom is just really able to get it done.
Actually, land Glorybringer Chandra is representing lethal damage on turn 5.
So a pretty ferocious curve out for Laurie Tornstrom here. And we'll see if he wants to go for it. We've seen Haze of Pollen already have an impact in this match. So Tornstrom is well aware of the fog effect that he may have to play through. And looks like Chandra's going to go upstairs as a result, having a good old hunt for that number 6 on the D12 there. Don't often get to fiddle around with D12s.
No, we're not going for Glorybringer.
Seeing if you can spread out that the damage across multiple turns. So you're going to pump up Thopter, however, and see if that's going to coax something out of Pritch. Looks like it will. What's he got for 4 mana here? I think this is just going to be... Okay, it's just going to be Haze of Pollen, I would say. Oh, no, well, the full 4 mana. All right. And a Shefet Monitor being cycled. All right.
Getting a land first. He can still Haze of Pollen or not. He doesn't have to. He's not dead.
Okay.
I'm really surprised at what Tornstrom is planning for this turn, because in his hand is just the Glorybringer and an additional Chandra, so he's opting to just not make a play this turn.
Not committing further to the board, instead pumping up that Thopter token. And so now, with the remaining 2 mana, here's a Haze of Pollen.
Okay, so he drew out the Haze of Pollen anyway. that means it didn't make a difference. I still think that attacking for lethal here would have been the better choice.
But that was his plan, right? To draw out that haze of pollen. I can't say that I disagree with your assessment there, Simon, but Tornstrom will be happy at least that he's got the outcome he wanted with that haze of pollen in the bin. So Pritsch now, he's got to that magic 7 mana. Well, 6 mana is really the really magical part, but doesn't have the new perspective to play, or if he does have it, isn't going to. And a tricky situation for him here, with Tornstrom having curved out ferociously on turns 2, 3, and 4, opted not to play the dragon last turn. We'll see if his mind has changed about that. Looks like it has. Here comes the 4-4, hustling and bustling. Let's get it done, says Laurie Tornstrom. How'd you like the taste of these beats? But Pritsch has got the goods once again. We're going to see another haze of pollen here. Really setting himself up, giving himself a lot of time here, Simon.
Yeah, but he can't keep that up forever. He needs new perspectives next turn.
Well, that's just a mess. He's put a D6 on 1 now next to the D7.
Yeah, not used to the D12 technology.
No, it's been around for a long time. Anyone who's swung a great axe in a game of D&D will know their way around this dodecahedron.
Yes, one of the few. How do you call that?
A platonic solid.
Platonic.
Yeah, it's not looking for a relationship right now.
New perspectives.
Here it is. And this means that Pritsch is gunning for the finish line here. Sensor cycled. And let's see if he can stitch together another win. He's given himself enough time and enough room to do it here, as we see Vizier of Tumbling Sands untapping Gift of Paradise on that island.
Oh, this is looking good.
It's looking very good indeed. He just needs to find that Shadow of the Grave, and I'd have to say he is the odds-on favourite here. Let's see if he can find the cards that he needs. Laurie Tornstrom has just had to take his beats now. Ether Hub. So there's the Shadow of the Grave, and Simon, things looking bad for Tornstrom right now.
I think that's it. The first Shadow of the Grave is the key card. Now Max has an effective 4 mana available to him. We know already that there have been 5 or 6 cyclers revealed by Max. He's going to continue cycling here.
Gains another land, snags a bit more mana. We still have those Viziers in hand, of course, after that Shadow of the Grave, so he's not going to be short on mana thanks to Gift Paradise. Man, there are so many parts in this deck. There's so many things that need to come together for it to work, but when it does, it's a real thing of beauty, huh?
It is. I think the Gift of Paradise on turn 3 is maybe even the most critical part, because if you don't have that, everything gets delayed by so much.
That's very true, and the fact that it buffers your life total is really nice as well, and probably can't be understated. You can see Max Pritsch there, a little bit of shaky hand action going on there. He can feel the pressure. I mean, as we draw closer towards this top 8.
He can feel the excitement of going off a second time.
Just like that. Wouldn't be the first time he's done it today.
No duress by Laurie to be seen anywhere.
And that's rough stuff for his opponent. Yes, indeed, Simon. Pritsch continues to churn through his deck here. Just needs that Shadow of the Grave, and you would think that would be enough. I mean, there is a chance that he whiffs. It's very low. Oh, Max Pritsch, don't do it to us here. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. He's adding blue mana to his pool rather than combining the D12 and the D6. No one wants to see that. Here's another Shadow of the Grave. Going to pick up all these cyclers. And again now, we're going to see Pritsch add a stack of mana to his pool. Cycle through a ton of cards in his deck. So, Simon, even if the Faith of the Devoted is the actual last card in his library, he can still win, right?
If he has ways to generate enough mana, he will still win, yes. You can put 10 draw triggers on the stack and resolve every one of your Faith of the Devoted triggers.
Before you draw a card.
Yeah. And what you have to do is you cycle, you pay 1 mana, you drain them, and then before you draw the card, you cycle again and repeat the process.
Here's Faith of the Devoted now. This is going to be the nail in the coffin of Laurie Tornstrom. Let's see if he's going to make Max Pritsch play it out.
Laurie doesn't quite believe it yet. Wants to see that there are enough cycling cards available to Max.
So Max Pritsch is just going to reveal his hand. You can see a Bontu's Last Reckoning and a Faith of the Devoted. Looks like everything else may be able to be cycled there. And so Tornstrom, looks like he's going to make him go through the motions. Okay, no shame in that. Sometimes it is, the sporting thing to do to just pack up when your opponent has demonstrated that the game is almost certainly theirs. But Tornstrom is playing till the final whistle blows, so let's see how things go now for him.
2 activations. And that's 10 more.
Yep, and it looks like the third copy of Shadow of the Grave there was enough for Tornstrom to extend the hand, and so Max Pritsch moves up to 10-2-1. Are we going to see new perspectives in the top 8 of this GP? Overwhelmed with joy, as you can see, the bearded fella there with his very smart cap on. Came dressed for the occasion, Simon, and he's been rewarded so far, 10-2-1.
Yep, 2 more.
2 more to go, and we'll see how things go for our hero Max Pritsch there. Congratulations to him. Commiseration to his opponent. I mean, Laurie Tornstrom had that ferocious curve out, but ultimately not enough.
Yeah, he needed at least 1 disruption spell this game.
Yeah, duress or something like that to take care of business. But that's the way that it goes. My friends, we've got to go to a break, but of course, Time Walk Magic coming your way after the ads, so stick around because there's more Standard coming your way from GP Copenhagen. Back at it once again here at GP Copenhagen. Riley Knight joined by Simon Gertzen, and we have some time walk magic lined up for your viewing pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get to it right here, right now. And Simon, this means we are going to get to see more and more, I guess, not quite win and in magic, but elimination magic, essentially. Although these players have still got a loss to give.
Yeah, and this is a very good situation to be in. This is round 13. If they lose one more round, then they need to win. They basically need to win one and draw one to make the top 8, according to our predictions at least.
Christopher Larsen, many of our long-time viewers will be familiar with the Danish juggernaut. He's about 9 foot tall and about 9 foot wide as well at the shoulder. This guy does not muck around. He is a modern-day Goliath, very intimidating table presence.
I think actually that's who I thought of when I saw Joel's broken collarbone.
Oh yeah,
not Martin Müller.
You thought of him? Yeah, he's wrestled with Christopher Larsen, wrestled with just the human version of a bear. I would not want to. I would rather, I think, wrestle with Raphael Levy than Christopher Larsen.
Oh no, you won't.
I definitely would, because you know why? Raphael Levy is like highly trained, pinpoint control of his martial art prowess, whereas Christopher Larsen is just beast mode.
It's true.
You'd end up in pieces, I think, if you went up against the Danish juggernaut. And so many of his foes have this weekend, by the look of things, 11-1. He's only been beaten once throughout this entire weekend. And look at this, a special one from Joachim Stahle-Nilsson. The Flame of Kel. There's been whispers about this list, Simon, throughout the last couple of weeks. We even saw a team come to the Pro Tour with it, but looks like Nilsson has decided that it's good enough to also be brought to this GP.
Yep. The Flame of Kelt has come down. Nilsson discarded his hand. That's the price he paid, but now he gets the reward.
So draw 2 cards. He ends up even on that trade, seeing as he discarded 2 cards last round, excuse me. And then, of course, the thrilling climax to this card next turn. And that's why we're seeing a bunch of, burn spells in this deck. Often we see a Braid and Magma Spray, but it's all about lightning strikes and shocks now. Yep,
even Wizard's Lightnings. You saw Fanatical Firebrand there already. This is a fun deck for sure. And Larsen without blockers is definitely hurting here. Maybe he has a Chain Whirler? No, nothing.
Doesn't have it. That's pretty bad stuff here for the Dane, as Stahle-Nilsson manages to resolve this Flame of Kel's ultimate ability. And this means that effectively all of his spells are going to be juiced up for extra damage. I think it's 2 damage extra per spell.
Per red source.
Oh, per red source, excuse me.
Yeah, this is huge on this board.
So +2/+0 effectively given to all of his creatures. And Larsen is in a world of pain. He's got an Abrade for the Earthshaker Kenra. But Soulscar Mage coming across for 3. Fanatical Firebrand also able to be sacrificed for 3 damage.
And is Nilsson just 1 damage short here?
Oh no. So Larsen down to 1. Stahle-Nilsson without anything else to do. He's just got a mountain in hand. Rough stuff here. You'd think that the Flame of Keld going off would be enough, but a very quick one all the same, because Larsen didn't have the goods to push through the final points of damage. So we go to game number 2. I tell you what, this deck is certainly all in on the game plan it has, Simon.
Yeah, and it doesn't even run Goblin Chain Roller. I'm speechless.
That seems incredible. Is it just because it wants to keep its curve so low to the ground?
The most expensive cards are 2 Uncrop Crushers. That's it.
Just doesn't have room for any more.
20 lands. Let's get in there. Oh, Carries F also synergizes really nicely with the Flame of Kelt.
Yeah, it goes from attacking to 3 for attacking for 7. That's pretty huge. Here's a Fanatical Firebrand now for Nilsson. Not a great card to play in the face of all the Goblin Chain Whirlers, but it's done really well so far for Stahle-Nilsson on 11-1. Let's see now what he can do with his Curry Zev. Nice way to hold off the opposing one, were it not for the fact that it had Menace. Larsen's attacks getting it uncontested. Ding Stahle-Nilsson for 6, and we're going to see Ragavan. Well, this seems to be a flavor violation here.
Oh, it's actually not. It makes sense that Carries F can can keep Ragavan in check.
Oh, the only one who can contain the beast.
Control.
Yeah,
control
that
it.
actually makes sense. All right, so it's good to have flavor judges, certified and accredited flavor judges like Simon Nilsson, Simon Nilsson and Simon Gertzen on hand. We do have Simon Nilsson over there as well, watching the stream to ensure everything. I think he's just been accredited as a level 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
level 4 flavor judge.
Yeah, obviously you have to win a GP to become to get to the higher levels. And so his recent victory at GP Birmingham made him eligible for that, and I imagine he sat the exam the very next day.
Yeah, that's a problem that Ben Stark has. He has too many second place finishes.
Yeah, that's the real issue for him. He does need a big breakthrough. Even a Hall of Fame selection, Hall of Fame slot won't get you across the line. They take flavor judging very seriously.
It's the Proto Hall of Fame, not the flavor judging Hall of Fame.
That's right. That's right. We move on now to Christopher Larsen taking his next turn after having deployed a Rekindling Phoenix. This card, one of the many huge 4-drops that the red decks of Standard play. Well, not all of them, obviously.
No, some apparently don't need it. I have to say Joachim's deck does look quite a bit weaker when it doesn't have the Flame of Kel to power up all these cards.
Because then you're playing Fanatical Firebrand.
Which does crew Aethersphere Harvester.
That's true.
Crew 1 is a very low crew cost.
It's a very low crew cost. It's just about the lowest crew cost you can get.
Because crew 0 would be a bit broken.
Crew 0 then just wouldn't be a vehicle.
Tap any number of creatures if you want, or not.
I guess like it'd be a self-driving car, like a Google self-driving car.
True.
That would have a crew cost of 0. A unicycle certainly couldn't.
No,
You couldn't have a self-driving unicycle.
that's difficult enough to balance with a driver, with a pilot.
A Roomba would have a crew cost of 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you could put a cat on it, I guess. Have you seen that video?
No, I haven't really.
There's a
but
cat sitting on a Roomba
I'll make sure to check it out.
chasing a duck.
Great stuff.
It
great
really
stuff.
is just premium YouTube.
No, I
viewing
was wondering what to do with my time. So
You're at a loose end tonight, not anymore. Here's Aethersphere Harvester being crewed up by the Fanatical Firebrand. Going to jump in the way of that Rekindling Phoenix. Larsen doesn't mind, though, because, of course, the Rekindling Phoenix can come back from the ashes.
exceptional card.
It really is.
Exceptional. Did you get it?
Oh,
No, you didn't.
I didn't. I didn't expect an actual bona fide Simon Gertzen joke. Here's Walking Ballista now. See what Stahle-Nilsson has to say about that.
Not much.
Not too much, as we see the Aethersphere Harvester and the Fanatical Firebrand hitting the bin.
You know, they said Walking Ballista has gotten worse because there are no more 1 toughness creatures. It's still a pretty good magic card.
I'd be interested to see the representation of Goblin Chainwhirler at this event. We haven't shown it too much on camera. There's been 2 reasons for that. I think one is that I think everyone has more or less had a gutful of Goblin Chainwhirler on Magic coverage. The other one is I don't think it's as heavily represented as it has been in previous weeks.
No, definitely less represented than at the Pro Tour, it feels like, at least. I'm sure Frank and Toby are running the numbers on it, or will run the numbers, but let's not call it too early. Actually, at the Pro Tour, it didn't look like the chain roller decks were dominating, and then suddenly we had 7 of them in the top 8. Two rounds before the end of the Swiss, it was looking a lot more diverse.
I think it's a good piece of advice for you from you there, Simon, not to call it too early. Between the 2 of us this weekend, we've certainly really, jumped the gun a little bit and made a lot of early calls that, between the 2 of us, I think there's been like 3 or 4 situations.
Missteps.
Yeah, that's right. But you know what? I'm not here to play the blame game. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone in particular. Kari Zev dies to a lightning strike, but Scrap Heap Scrounger gets across here. Could have been either of us, really. Another lightning strike in hand for Nilsson, but this is not what he wants to do with his deck. This is not where these lightning strikes should be pointed as a Rekindling Phoenix come down for Larsen, who I think has really got this one in the bag. Again, I don't want to...
No, you can call it.
I can call it. Oh,
it's okay.
All right, okay. I don't want to add to our total, Scrap Heap Scrounger comes back for another encore performance here, and Nilsson, without too much to say about it.
Larsen is doing a really good job flooding out. He does want to make it exciting. But
and now Carrie's ever going to block that Scrape Heap Scrounger.
The mono red flame deck is just not very good when you don't have any red permanents.
But it's good of Larsen, as you say, to do his best to flood out to make this game as interesting as possible. But the Stahle-Nilsson's seen enough. We're going to go to game number 3 now. So all things all tied up here. And Stahle-Nilsson's deck looks fantastic with the Flame of Keld. Looks like utter trash without it. So certainly fans of actual real games of Magic will hope that he finds the cards that he needs. Bomat Courier, the turn 1 play. Stahle-Nilsson. Canyon Slough means no drop, 1 drop here for Larsen.
Bomat Courier, one of the few non-red sources of damage in Stahle-Nilsson's deck. It's good enough to make the cut.
Another Bomat Courier as well. So, the messengers are sent off around their appointed rounds. No Glomovnit to be found here, as we see now a Soulscar Mage joining the fray.
And this is a player hoping not to get chain rollered.
This is what it looks like. This is what someone who doesn't not want to see a Goblin Chain Whirler looks like right now. Shock in hand for Stahle-Nilsson. Another couple of cards I haven't got a good look at.
That's Gitu Lava Runner with no spells in the graveyard. We might just see... Stahle can't really shock here because he wants to develop his board. But this Scavenger Grounds is actually punishing him quite a bit because he cannot spend 3 red mana here, for example, for Gitu Lava Runner Shock and have an activation of Bomat Courier up.
So instead, we'll just see another Soulscar Mage. Looks like Stahle-Nilsson really is prioritizing having that Bomat Courier available and 3 mana Goblin Chain Whirler.
So basically he lost a full card just because he didn't have an additional red source available.
And it's funny because this is a monocolored deck. You look at this and you go, yeah, sure, just pop a couple of utility lands in there, a couple of free colorless lands, but they come at a real cost here because Nilsson, as you say, has just effectively given up a card.
Nothing comes free in life.
No such thing as a free lunch. An old friend of mine in Berlin, Thomas, an Italian bloke.
Opened a restaurant.
He
no free lunch.
Thomas Bistro. He called it no free lunches at Thomas Bistro. No, he once told me that if something is free, then you're the product.
Oh yeah, I've read that before.
Yep.
No
Certainly
place at all. Nilsson just let everything resolve.
And those exiled cards are going to stay that way as well. Obviously, you like the look of his hand as it was. And a shock on the oh no. Okay, this means that we can attack with the Soulscar Mages in for 4, thanks to the and a very aggressive deployment of that -1/-1 die, I should say, and Earthshaker Kenra gets across for 2.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused once again here because if Joachim didn't want to sacrifice a Bomat Courier, then he definitely should have deployed his Gitu Lava Runner
because it wasn't going to die to the Chain Whirler
because
anyway.
It's a 1/2 and. There wasn't anything else he had to be afraid of, I believe.
A bit of a haphazard game plan there from Stahle-Nilsson. Once again, Goblin Chain Whirler are going to be unable to block. Smart for Stahle-Nilsson to play all his 1 toughness creatures after the Goblin Chain Whirlers come down.
Well, half of them at least.
Gets across for a bunch of damage, but there's going to be an unlicensed disintegration. Needs must here for Christopher Larsen.
And Larsen is just running out of answers. He's spending 3 mana to deal with a 2/1 haste creature.
And only dealing with half the card as well. It can come back again if Stahle-Nilsson gets to 6 mana. Unlikely.
Yeah, that would be the least of my worries against the 18 land deck. And there is the Gitu Lava Runner, a bit late to the party.
Can't get in because of course there's just a shock in the graveyard when it comes to instants and sorceries. Let's see what Larsen's next move is here. Ships. Can't find that 4th land. He's got 4 drops in hand to deploy, but no mana to do it with.
Even the Strength of the Bear does not save you from a death by 1,000 cuts.
Big attacks now. We'll see what Larsen is working with. The Goblin Chain Whirler is going to be able to block that Earthshaker Kenra at a profit here. And it looks like another removal spell is going to take care of Soulscar Mage. So in for 2 now. Larsen's life total halved, but he ends up looking pretty good at the end of that exchange.
Yeah, I think...
Why did Stahle-Nilsson put those creatures in the graveyard? Okay, all right, yeah. Just let Papa Bear take care of things for you, mate. And now Larsen has to turn the corner here somehow, but a single shock off the
I
top.
thought Joachim was just tapping him out into shock Larsen. But
no. Karizev Skyship Raiders a nice blocker in addition to that Goblin Chain Whirler. But Nilsson, all he needs is, a shock off the top. How about that? And still got all these, says Christopher Larsen. A bunch of uncastable cards in hand. And none of them, he couldn't even cast the Goblin Chain Whirler because of the way that goes there. We are going to the very last match in the entire round now, Simon. It's happening before your very eyes, my friend, in the feature match area. Martin Dang and David Amiani. This is not only the last match in our round, it's also in the feature match, it's also the last match of the entire round here at GP Copenhagen, and it is coming to you live. It is coming at you live, my friends. And White Blue Control, unsurprising to see a mirror match taking quite a long time.
Yep, this is Sideboard, of course, so you will see a bit of unusual cards here. History of Benalia, of course, classic Sideboard card in the matchup.
Best card in Magic.
I wouldn't go that far. Better than Call the Cavalry. Slightly better, sometimes.
Miani, harnessing the power of the Knight Tribe. Love to see it. Can't get enough of it, Simon. Cast out now. Looks like it's in response to this blink of an eye. Did Martin Dang draw off that blink of an eye just now?
I think he did.
Because it was targeting a knight. Okay, that makes more sense. I thought it was targeting a Teferi. The way that it was placed on the Teferi made it look like that, but no. Okay.
Wouldn't really make sense to bounce your own Teferi end of turn. So,
Ixalan's binding now on the history of Benalia. So, Dad is not going to finish the next chapter before bedtime. Lights out, go to sleep, and I'll see you in the morning. Here's another Teferi. Gideon of the Trials gets busy, and David Amiani knocked down 12.
Relentless beatdown. And both players on the history of Benalia sideboarding plan here. I think it was a bit overrated. Like when everybody
Hang on,
just
did he just cast that history of Benalia?
Yes, he did.
Oh, because he the binding is on his opponent's history.
Yeah, it's not symmetrical.
It's not symmetrical. Excuse me. No, I got confused there for a second. So both players there with the history of Benalia. Looks like Dad's going to open the bedtime story once again here.
Martin Deng trying to put a bit more order on his side of the battlefield.
It hasn't really worked, to be honest. I'm not sure which card is under what here. I think the binding is supposed to be on the history of Benalia.
That's true, and cast out has taken care of a walking ballista. That's actually
a Teferi.
It's not so easy to cast out a walking ballista.
Man, how did that happen? We may never know, Simon. We may never know. Here's a Torrential Gearhulk now for Miani. And draws a couple of cards here off that Glimmer of Genius that was flashed back. Search for Azcanta the play. Miani tapping down very low here. And looks like we're going to see some knight-on-knight action.
Davide doing his best to... I think he... Yeah.
No, he's not going to block.
But that was all body language. He just pretended the knight wasn't there.
Yeah.
And Dang fell for it.
Yeah. Bit of a Jedi mind trick there for Davide Miani. There was no reason for Dang not to block.
Not really. Two vigilance creatures.
I mean, facing up against and also facing up against a Torrential Gearhulk. Those 2/2s aren't getting in.
Absolutely.
Wow, powerful stuff there for Miani. And Dang fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. So Dang now.
Davide also aligning his lands beautifully in a straight line.
Unlike his various enchantment removal spells, which looks like not even a dog's breakfast.
Well, some of those are Martins as well. Oh, nice. That's actually the one creature that Dang plays in his...
Essence Scatter. Just like that.
Nobody expected Essence Scatter after sideboarding.
Oh, my goodness me. Davide Miani. What a huge play from him. Completely embarrassing Martin Dang there with that one. Martin Dang tapped down to... I mean, look at that. A walking ballista for, what was it, 12?
Yep. 6/6 walking ballista, and he would have had disallow as well to make sure that the walking ballista resolves.
That's disgraceful. Martin Dang. having his pants pulled down there. Unbelievable stuff. Here's a disallow on the Teferi, however. David Amiani not going to be able to rumble with his own Hero of Dominaria.
And Gideon also on the battlefield, quite relevant.
Let's have a look now and see what Miani's looking to do with his 5-6. This History of Vernalia is going to come to its thrilling conclusion next turn. Let's see if Dang falls for it again. He, I think this time a very deliberate choice not to block there, as Teferi goes down to 2. So let's see if Dang can, pull the threads together this turn. So the Knights become 4-3s. All juiced up. See what they can get done here. In the face of that Torrential Gearhulk, the answer to that question may be not very much.
Yeah, and that Torrential Gearhulk might actually get Gideoned. There's a Field of Ruins in Martin Dang's land pile, so Azcanta can get dealt with, but it's very unclear.
That is time called in the round, I will mention as well. So this is turn 0 of extra turns. There are 5 additional turns after this, so that means that each player effectively gets 3 turns each.
Yeah, including this one. 3 attack steps, basically, because I don't think it's going to come down to decking, although we don't quite see Davide's library here. Ibnu Rivulet, of course, on the battlefield for Dang.
Here's another Teferi, the Hero of Dominaria. And Miani says it resolves. And this one may be going downstairs here. Yes, indeed. Tuck away that Torrential Gearhulk. Looking to push through damage. Make hay while the sun shines on horseback here, with these Knights coming across as 4-3s. We're going to see Martin Dang and David Amiani slow down a little bit, I would say, given the fact that this is extra turns. And this is a very close one as well, so we could be in for the long haul here.
So now this attack is quite powerful. Actually, it's pressuring Miani very significantly, who, if he activates Azcanta now, actually reduces his chances of finding something good, because there's now a Gearhulk in the top of his pile.
Yeah, and he can't take that, obviously, with the Azcanta. So the Knight token bravely goes out and meets his leveled up foes. And this is just pure damage control here for David Amiani. It looks like he's got a cast out as well. That one may be targeting the Gideon. We'll see if Dang has a response. He's got a lot of cards in hand. Oh, blink of an eye instead. Miani playing at a glacial pace. So you'd be forgiven for thinking that we're slowing down the feed here.
No, ever since time was called, both of these players have started playing a bit slower. Of course, not what you were supposed to do, but let's hope that this game does end in at a reasonable pace. Did Martin Dang just tap his Field of Ruins?
Yep.
Please untap it with Teferi's trigger. No.
So, Lyra Dawnbringer the play now for Dang. David Amiani choosing to activate his search for Azcanta, or maybe we'll see cast here.
You can still cast out.
But a Censor will get paid for. Double Censor can't be, however. So Dang 2-for-1ing himself to keep that cast out off the field. Unusual bit of value gained from those Censors late in the game. Usually just cycle them away straight away, but Dang able to leverage them to counter a spell.
Yeah, a bit of a weird game here as the control mirror goes into turns, because suddenly you see both of these players playing very differently from how they would otherwise play. Davide really on damage control, whereas Martin Dang just trying to be as aggressive as possible.
Yeah, trying to race.
And he might just win here by attacking for lethal next turn with Lyra, Gideon, and a Knight token.
Yeah, Miani needs something special here, and he's going to try to find it off a Glimmer of Genius. 2 cards below decks. 1, 2 planes, and another History of Benalia here.
Which does keep him alive if it resolves.
Yeah, it can block. So class is in session. Professor Binns drifts through the blackboard, but no one's turned up for class. They're all in Gryffindor Tower, and that is enough
binding.
There. Ixalan's binding, and Martin Dang didn't miss a trick, meaning that History of Benalia can't be cast, of course. And so his opponent there, dead in the water. And weird texture to the end of control mirrors, but ultimately Dang had a greater threat density, and his answers lined up just that much better.
Yeah, and also you have to keep in mind it's about stamina, right? 13 rounds of playing blue-white control, going into extra time, being the last match to finish this round. You have to really stay sharp and focused.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough, and you know what you're signing up for when you're playing blue-white control. That's just the way that it goes there. My friends, we've got to go to a break. On the other side of it, of course, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that sling, and that's why you're going to see Joel Larsen in the booth again with Tim Willoughby. So stick around. I'll be back on the other side of these ads.